Good evening, Namaste. I believe we all are together in this crucial time because it happened again, the Pahalgam attack. The same heinous, brutal act by the terrorist. Kashmir has always been the region of contention between India and Pakistan, and we all know the reason. Many security agencies are deployed in the region to combat these terrorist activities, these militants, but still it happened again. They attack our parliament, our local markets, our temples, our hotels, our local trains. They cowardly attack our soldiers. And it happened again now. They attacked the tourists, the weaponless, innocent people. Killing weaponless people has always been their dirty game. I sometimes feel helpless when I see these families grieving on one hand, and on another hand, I feel embarrassed when I see this news channels becoming the battleground. The same conversation, the same accusations, the same eagerness to have a war, and same conversations over the terrorism and peace in Delhi. Is war the only solution? If yes, then they must not forget that we had fought it earlier. All Indo-Pak wars concluded with India asserting its dominance, and they must not forget it. If war is the solution, if if war is not the solution, then what is the solution? Let's shed some light on this matter with my honorable guest today, the panelist. I'm sure with their experience and expertise, we will be able to make this matter clear. I would like to introduce my first guest, Major Aditya Deshmukh. He is an ex-Indian Army officer who served the nation for 10 years. He worked in Sikkim, Rajasthan, Jammu and Kashmir Poonch sector, Siachen, and got retired from Pune. He has a very rich experience of serving in all fields and one of the youngest officers in his regiment to have served on all fronts, that is LAC, LOC, IB, and as well as AGPL. He has served in Siachen and Poonch two totally varied but tough and challenging postings. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us today. I'm really grateful for your presence.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
I would like to introduce my another guest of the day, Mr. Navjot Singh ji. Mr. Singh is an intelligence bureau veteran who worked in the northeast along the Indo-China border and LOC in Jammu and Kashmir. He is an enforcement officer of the Government of India, former corporate consultant in Tata Group, UPSC coach, and the co-founder of Vishwas NGO that creates awareness on climatic change, women education, and female feticide in the border state of Jammu and Kashmir. He is also an podcaster and a TV panelist with internal security and geopolitics. Thank you,
Thank you so
sir.
much.
Super delighted to have you here with us.
The pleasure is all mine.
And my third guest of the evening, we are honored to have you, Vikas Manasar, here, a compassionate individual from Jammu who has been paying tribute to the families of soldiers since 1999. He's a kind hearted person who has demonstrated remarkable dedication to honoring the sacrifices of soldiers and their families. His tireless efforts to pay tribute to soldiers and their families has shown a deep understanding of their sacrifices and a commitment to honoring their memories. Thank you so much, Vikas sir, for being here with us today. So, Major Aditya, my first question goes to you. As someone who has served in the region, you are well aware of the geographical condition of Jammu and Kashmir. So, what do you think? What could be the reason why this all happened, despite the fact that this is a high security zone?
Let me first thank you for inviting me in this session, and I'm really honored to have to be a panelist amongst such senior people, Navjot sir and Vikas sir, and thank you so much for inviting me. Now, if we look at the question as you are saying, ki why these things are happening, and despite being such a high stake security zone, still this thing has happened. Um, so, firstly, let me tell you, there are a number of things which are responsible for it. I wouldn't say a particular thing, but first and foremost thing is the attack which happened in Pahalgam recently. The backdrop of that came from the actual genesis of it must have started quite earlier, like 2 to 3 months. It must have been planned in that way, and the perpetrators would have infiltrated or would have been the local. We are yet to know that. I believe, considering the operandi of that particular entire incidents which took place, I believe it's a thing done by the local terrorists, and which are fed or which are financed and sponsored by the adversaries from across the border. And the reason I believe that, in order to create this, because the tourist season has recently started, and since last 2 years it has been a lot of there has been a lot of changes which are happening in a good way towards a good better things are happening in J&K. And we saw in last year in June what happened, and now and suddenly this thing has happened. So main reason would be to create that kind of instability, to in instill that fear amongst the common populace, to have a fear in their minds, rather than going towards J&K, rather than basically to affect the economy of J&K, to show the international media that things are still not in place. There are attempts which are made to demean the work which has gone into making that thing a better place since last 2 years. So it is all that, it's a part of that bigger plan, in order to malign the face of the government, malign the security forces. So all these things are, this is the major reason behind doing this kind of mishap which has happened, unfortunately. And I believe that there are certain corrective measures which our government would be looking towards, and the security forces as well as the intelligence forces, intelligence agencies would be looking forward to. So that's what I feel about this incident.
Okay, so I feel the same. So recently, Navjot sir, this question is for you. Recently, Pakistan Defense Minister Khwaja Asif admitted and confessed Pakistan's history of supporting, funding, and training these terrorist groups. So, and then they say that we are not involved. Again, a statement came from Bilawal Bhutto, and he said that हम खून की नदियां बहा देंगे अगर पानी रोका तो. And then they say we want peace. Again, a statement came from former cricketer of Pakistan, and he said कि तुम लोग निकम्मे हो. This was his statement. And then they say कि borders जो होती हैं वो क्रिकेटर्स के लिए और कलाकारों के लिए नहीं होती. So what is your take on this? What would you like to say on these things? Like एक तरफ they are very diplomatic, we all know that एक तरफ वो लोग एक चीज बोलते हैं and they करते कुछ और है. So what is your take on this?
Jai Hind, first of all, to you and all the fellow panelists, as well as the audiences who are, listening to us. I extend my salutations to the esteemed panel also. I'll start with in the reverse order, I'll start with the third question first. I think we don't need to pay much importance to these people who don't have many credibility on their own part. Someone who has retracted his retirement multiple times, who has lied about his age multiple times, people who follow cricket may know it much better. So I don't think we need to take these statements coming from gentlemen from across the border too seriously. Coming to your second question about that jibe of rivers of blood from Mr. Bilawal Bhutto, I would like to borrow from the lexicon of Major Ranjan Mahajan. I recently had a podcast with General Mahajan, and when we were discussing, so he very categorically mentioned, General Officer said that rivers don't flow ulta. So I would reiterate that statement. Let the rivers flow towards Balochistan. Let the rivers of blood be there, and our rivers be full of prosperity. And if we extend that argument a little further to the revocation or the temporary abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty, so I unequivocally mention that we have been very considerate to Pakistan ever since that treaty was signed, brokered by the World Bank in 1960. We have been, the rivers of Jhelum, uh, Chenab, and Indus. So those rivers have majority been given to Pakistan for their, agricultural and other purposes. Pointing
Absolutely.
out to the situation in Pakistan, if I categorically mention there, अगर आप सिंध इलाके की बात करें, तो Sindh is already in a state of chaos. A lot of strife is happening there. Balochistan, mein whatever happened, we saw that Jafar Express getting hijacked and a lot of unrest there. Their activist Mehrang Baloch being, put under the scanner, and a lot of Baloch leaders being executed in foreign soil. That has been happening being done by the ISI for quite some time now. If I particularly mention about Sindh and with respect to the water, सिंध से वो 6 canals निकाल रहे हैं जो Pakistan administration, particularly Pakistan Punjab, if I may categorically state here, they are having 6 canals and they are connecting those canals to the Cholistan region of Pakistan Punjab. So that is what is going to create more unrest. And once we have choked the flow of waters by putting the temporary abeyance to the Indus Water Treaty, strife is going to exacerbate, it's going to increase in Sindh, and that is going to give a lot more headache to Pakistan. And whatever happened in 1971, let us see what is in the offing. On the other day, there is this poet who was mentioning that why don't you joke about Pakistan? Why don't you write about Pakistan? Then he mentioned I write about things which are permanent. He writes about love which existed before and he existed after. Pakistan ना 1947 के पहले था और कल का पता नहीं. So that is what I must like to say here as well. What was your first part of the question, ma'am?
Sir, I said the defense minister Khwaja Asif made a
Yes, yes,
statement.
yeah. So I think these
Himself
leaders are.
agreed.
Yeah. I got the question. Talking to an American news, Sky, I think, Sky, I think, media. So he mentioned these people, they keep embarrassing themselves in the international media. He openly admits at one point that we have been doing this dirty work for the Americans for the last 3 decades. And at the same time, you deny the involvement of, Pak-sponsored terror on Indian soil.
Hmm.
We all know it is an open secret. What is
Absolutely.
TRF? What is TRF is nothing but a re-Christian name for the Lashkar-e-Toiba. I mean, these people they went with the global narrative that let's create an organization which does not have Islamic connotations. The Resistant Front. There's another organization by the name of PAFF, People Anti-Fascist Front. So both these organizations are named in such a way that they want to create an impression that this is against the fascist regime in India. They want to project that fascism is there in India and Kashmiri people are being oppressed, and that kind of narrative is being said. And the other thing also the defense minister mentioned when he said that LET does not exist anymore. Then what is Jamaat Dawa? The Honorable Defense Minister of Pakistan should answer this question. Who is Jamaat Dawa? What is Jamaat Dawa for? Isn't it a front face for LET? And why is Hafiz Saeed heading the Jamaat Dawa? So all these questions, the enemy on the other side should answer, and it is more rhetoric, I would rather say. They have nothing to really gloat about. They are just, doing this media frenzy just to get some narrative as their minister. He made the statement last night as well that India is going to wage the war in next 36 to 48 hours. Why are they so panicky? They are deserting their post. Their majors are giving resignation. What kind of chaos is being unleashed in the country? So I
Is it
think
true? Sir,
they
is
need
it
to look.
true?
I would rather leave it to whatever is there. I will not go any further to say that. So that is
Okay.
all opening comments. Yeah.
There is one. There is one viral. एक paper है कुछ something viral. It is going viral everywhere. So जहाँ it is mentioned there are a lot of officers are giving resignation from their post. I don't know whether it's true or not. That's why I asked. No problem.
I think we better not comment too much on that. Let's not dwell too much into the operational things. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
just want to add one statement here, with all due respect, Navjotji, as
Hmm.
what you were saying. In addition to
Hmm.
it, like considering, like I have, I was in that area and I have seen it very closely for whatever minuscule amount of time I've served in that area. I'm sorry, Vikas, sir, I'm taking a little bit of time here. It's just that one statement of I wanted to give that I feel really lucky that I'm born on this side of the fence in current situation. Because if I would have been onto that side, definitely even I would have panicked, and I would have, like, considering the kind of power and the prowess which our country has today in today's
Absolutely.
situation. Definitely, I feel myself to be lucky onto this, that I'm born onto this side of the country, because otherwise things are quite grim, and their future is quite grim as I see. And
Right.
kal rahe ya na rahe, that's what Navjot ji said to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we are all lucky. In fact, a
Right.
little anecdote about 1965 war. I think we'll come back to. Please remind me. I'll give that anecdote about 1964 and why I was lucky. I'm lucky enough to having this conversation, because if India had not, proactively reacted in the 1965 war, Akhnur might as well have been the part of Pakistan. So
Oh,
that is one thing that I'm fortunate enough, and that's the valor of the Indian Army and Lal Bahadur Shastri sir, who was considered a weak prime minister, but he took really strong steps. So a lot of things are there in the pages of history that needs to be opened and told to the public. Yeah, please.
absolutely, absolutely. Because you live in Kashmir, right? You have seen the people closely. So there are a lot of speculations. They are saying that localites it wouldn't have been possible without the local support. So what do you think? Do Kashmiris really suffer a lot, or do you think they are involved in it? Like I'm not commenting on anyone. It is just something which I keep on listening every now and then. So that's what I'm sharing. There are a lot of people say that there might be their involvement, of course, and on one other hand, Kashmiri say that we are the true sufferers, and of course, I know they suffer a lot. So, what do you think? Because you know these people very closely, you live there.
चलिए गुड इवनिंग आप सबको। और लेट मी स्टार्ट विद दिस। जो मेजर सर ने कहा कि ये जो वट एवर हैपन्ड इट मस्ट बी प्लान्ड, काफी टाइम से हुआ होगा। ऑफ कोर्स इतना बड़ा अटैक बिल्कुल इंटीरियर में आके इफ समवन हैज टू एग्जीक्यूट इट कांट बी डन like that only. And sir is right कि even so far we are not sure whether हमारे लोग थे या बाहर से कोई लोग आए थे। सब स्पेकुलेशंस ही हैं which no one is sure। और फिर जो नवजोत सर ने एक बहुत अच्छी बात कही, मैं उसको आई विल जस्ट पुट इट लाइक दिस कि वी नॉट टू पे सो मच हीड व्हाट दे आर सेइंग। पाकिस्तानीज के जो सेलिब्रिटीज हैं, वट एवर क्रिकेटर्स या पॉलिटिशियंस या उनके जो फौज वाले हैं, हम दे पीपल सेट द नरेटिव्स और हम उसमें ही खो जाते हैं। दिस इज द सैड पार्ट। एंड अगर मैं आपको एक बात बताऊं, लड़ाई में जो मर्जी हो, मेजर साहब लड़ाई में जो मर्जी करें, जीत या हार उसी की होती है जो नरेटिव सेट कर पाता है। वन हु सेट्स द नरेटिव ही विंस द वॉर। वेदर लड़ाई में क्या हुआ क्या नहीं हुआ वो कोई नहीं जानता। एंड पाकिस्तानीज आर वेरी गुड इन सेटिंग अप द नरेटिव्स। उनका डिफेंस मिनिस्टर आके कुछ बोलता है, हमारा आधे से ज्यादा सोशल मीडिया और वट एवर हमारे जर्नलिस्ट हम उसी को डिस्कस करने लगते हैं। वाई वी हैव टू डिस्कस दैट। उनका एक क्रिकेटर जिसने ना जाने की तरह झूठ कहा, नवजोत सर बिल्कुल ठीक बोल रहे थे कि उसकी तो एक एज ही नहीं बढ़ती थी, कई साल तक तो आई थिंक 20 ही साल का रहा। इफ ही पुट समथिंग ऑन ट्विटर वी एवरीवन इज देयर टू। दैट इज नॉट, मतलब कि उसकी इतनी औकात ही नहीं है कि हम जाके उसको डिस्कस करें या बात करें। तो ये दो चीजें रही। नाउ कमिंग टू द क्वेश्चन जो आपने मुझसे पूछा कि क्या कश्मीरी सफर करते हैं, कर रहे हैं, वो इन्वॉल्व हैं या नहीं है। हमारे देश का सबसे बड़ा दुर्भाग्य ही यही है कि हम कभी प्रॉब्लम को आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाए। वी हैव नॉट आइडेंटिफाइड द प्रॉब्लम। अगर हम जब तक किसी चीज को आइडेंटिफाई ही नहीं करेंगे, हम उसका इलाज क्या करेंगे। अगर मैं मेडिकल टर्म्स में बात करूं, इफ ए डॉक्टर इज नॉट एबल टू डायग्नोज एनी डिजीज राइटली ही कांट क्योर इट। डायग्नोसिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट इन मेडिकल साइंसेस। एक बार मुझे पता चल जाए शरीर में ये बीमारी है, उसकी दवाई तो मुझे पता है ना कि व्हाट इज दैट, बट हमने आज तक इसको डायग्नोज नहीं किया। अगर मैम मैं आपकी बात करूं, व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड दिस कन्वर्सेशन यू यूज द वर्ड मिलिटेंट। अगर आप मिलिटेंट शब्द को ही समझो, मिलिटेंट शब्द का मीनिंग क्या है? एक वो आदमी जो सरकार के खिलाफ हथियार उठाता है, और वो देशद्रोही नहीं है। टेररिस्ट इज ए राइट वर्ड। आप देखिएगा कश्मीर बेस्ड पॉलिटिशियंस दे नेवर यूज द वर्ड टेररिस्ट। हम कभी उस चीज को पिन पॉइंट नहीं करते। कश्मीर बेस्ड मीडिया विल नेवर यूज द वर्ड टेररिस्ट। हम लोग नहीं लिखते। आपने भी मिलिटेंट वर्ड से ही शुरू किया, बीच में फिर आपने टेररिस्ट वर्ड यूज किया। हमारा नॉमेनक्लेचर ही ठीक नहीं है। हम एक प्रॉब्लम को एड्रेस ही ठीक से नहीं कर रहे हैं। अभी जैसे थोड़े दिन पहले कश्मीर में सब लोग सड़कों पे हैं, हड़ताल पे, हम हिंदुस्तान के साथ हैं, झंडे लेके चल रहे हैं, ये सब कुछ है। अगर मैं बात करूं आज ही के दिन, टुडे, आज के दिन 1990 में ए वेरी फेमस पोएट एंड हिज सन, दे बोथ वर अबडक्टेड, और कुछ दिनों के बाद उनकी पेड़ से लटकी हुई लाश मिली थी। दे बोथ वर वेरी प्रोमिनेंट सिटीजन ऑफ कश्मीर। तब तो कश्मीर में किसी ने हड़ताल नहीं की थी, तब तो किसी ने कुछ नहीं किया था, तब कश्मीरियत तो कहीं नहीं थी। हम इस पे कभी बात नहीं करते। आज ही के दिन, मैं आज की ही बात कर रहा हूं, इन 2007, अगर मैं ईयर गलत नहीं बता रहा हूं, माई होम डिस्ट्रिक्ट डोडा, खुलहंद एक गांव आता है, टेररिस्ट केम, उन्होंने गांव के सब लोगों को बाहर निकाला, हिंदूज को सेग्रीगेट किया, एंड दे किल्ड 22 हिंदूज दैट नाइट, जिसमें सबसे छोटा बच्चा 3 साल की लड़की थी। ये पहलगाम में जो अभी हुआ, इट्स वेरी रॉन्ग मी टू से, बट फर्स्ट टाइम ए डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ इंडियंस वर टारगेटेड। आप लोगों ने कभी इस तरह तो कोई इंडिया ने कुछ किया नहीं जब ये सारा कुछ हुआ। आज तक कश्मीर से बॉडीज किसकी आती थी? या तो मैन इन यूनिफॉर्म, कोई सोल्जर है जो इंडिया ने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया था कि सोल्जर तो मरता ही है, वो तो लड़ाई में गया है, ना जाने क्या क्या उसने, हमने नहीं बोला। वी हैव नेवर डिबेटेड ए सोल्जर्स डेथ लाइक दिस, कभी नहीं। या तो लोकल जो पॉपुलेशन थी हिंदूज की, सिख्स की, नॉन मुस्लिम्स की, उनकी डेथ होती थी जेएंडके में। रियासी में अभी 5-6 महीने पहले अटैक हुआ, उसको लेकर तो हमने कुछ नहीं किया। वी नेवर डिस्कस लाइक दैट। आज एक डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ इंडियंस आर टारगेटेड एंड वी ऑल आर यूनाइटेड। ये तो चलो अच्छा है जो उनकी कुर्बानियां हुई, ये सब कुछ हुआ। और मैं इस पे एक और बात आपसे कहता हूँ, वी हैड वन नेवल ऑफिसर हु लॉस्ट हिज लाइफ इन
Yes.
पहलगाम। वी हैड वन एयरफोर्स के भी एक कॉर्पोरल थे, अगर मैं गलत नहीं हूँ, और कोई इंटेलिजेंस ब्यूरो के भी लोग थे। लोगों ने ये बात करनी शुरू कर दिया, अब इनको इंसाफ मिलेगा, ये मिलेगा, वो मिलेगा। आई एम सो सरप्राइज, हम लोग इतने नोशंस बना कैसे लेते हैं। 1990 में, 1990 में एयरफोर्स ऑफिसर यूनिफॉर्म में था, ड्यूटी पे था, ही वॉज किल्ड इन ब्रॉड डे लाइट इन श्रीनगर सिटी। और जिसने उसको मारा वो दिल्ली स्टूडियो में आके बोलता कि मैंने उसको मारा हुआ है, हमने आज तक उसको कुछ नहीं किया। ये नेवी का ऑफिसर तो छुट्टी पे था, यूनिफॉर्म में भी नहीं था, आप इसके लिए क्या ही करोगे। आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ नन अदर बट स्क्वाड्रन लीडर रवि खन्ना। हमारे पिछले प्रधानमंत्री तो उसके, जिसने उसको मारा, यासिर मलिक को मिलते थे। वी हैड फोटोग्राफ्स एंड एवरीथिंग सरफेस्ड। आई एम सॉरी, मैं थोड़ा इमोशनल हो जाता हूं, बट दिस इज द राइट थिंग, दिस इज द स्टेट ऑफ अफेयर्स ऑफ आवर कंट्री। और मैं एक और चीज कहता हूं आपसे, इतना बड़ा अटैक प्लान हुआ, मेजर साहब ने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा, इसकी काफी देर से तैयारी हुई होगी, रेकी हुई होगी, रिक्रूटमेंट हुई होगी। आज कुछ एजेंसीज यहां तक बोल रही हैं कि वो पाकिस्तानी कोई ट्रेंड कमांडोज थे, ये थे, वो थे, वट एवर। अब वो सच है झूठ है वो तो हमें पता नहीं है। कहीं ना कहीं हमारा भी तो इंटेलिजेंस फेलियर है, हमारा भी तो इंटेलिजेंस। ठीक है, पहलगाम में आज तक कुछ नहीं हुआ, आई एग्री टू दैट, पर पहलगाम से बिल्कुल 30-40 किलोमीटर आगे वेरीनाग, कोकरनाग, अच्छा बल, वहां तो हर आए दिन एनकाउंटर्स होते हैं, हर आए दिन होते हैं। हमने वाई वी केप्ट सो लूज। नो डाउट जो पाकिस्तान ने किया, इट हैज टू बी टेकन केयर ऑफ, बट एट द सेम टाइम जो आरआर की यूनिट वहां पे डिप्लॉयड है, जो कुछ उनके लोग हैं, वी कांट बी सो स्लीपी। हम ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकते। वो लोग आए, और अभी आपने दूसरी बात की कि लोग सपोर्ट करते हैं या नहीं करते हैं। अब वो जो 4 टेररिस्ट थे, या 4 थे या 5 थे, उन्होंने आज भी खाना खाया होगा, उन्होंने आज भी सब कुछ किया होगा। हु इज फीडिंग देम? लोकल्स आर फीडिंग देम। एक गांव
Absolutely.
में हर आदमी को पता होता है किसके घर में क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा है। कोई अभी ये जो लोग कैंडल मार्च कर रहे हैं पहलगाम के लोग, या
Hmm.
जो सब कुछ कर रहे हैं, वाई दे आर नॉट कमिंग अप विद द इंफॉर्मेशन कि हमने टेररिस्ट को यहाँ पे देखा, या वहां पे देखा, वो वहां पे देखा। कोई इंफॉर्मेशन आई? नहीं आई। पिछले 2 सालों में कश्मीर टूरिज्म में इतना ज्यादा पैसा इन्वेस्ट हुआ है, नाउ दे आर स्टक। एक होटल जो शायद आपके शहर में 2,500-3,000 रुपए का मिलता होगा, सेम कैटेगरी का होटल कश्मीर में 10,000 रुपए का है, वो भी नहीं मिल रहा था। मैं 1 हफ्ता पुरानी बातें कर रहा हूँ। एयरलाइन के फेयर आप सबने भी देखे होंगे, ना जाने कहाँ पे थे। अभी का प्रेजेंट चीफ मिनिस्टर बोलता है असेंबली में आके, आई एम फीलिंग अशेम्ड, आई विश हिज फादर हैड फेल्ट अशेम्ड इन 1990 when Tikka Lal Taplu was assassinated. I wished his father has felt ashamed when Lassa Cole was assassinated. I felt his father has felt ashamed when Girja Tikku was cut into 2 pieces. और मैं एक और बात कहता हूं, आई बिलोंग टू जम्मू एंड कश्मीर। हम लोग आपके साथ आए कि चलो ये इंडिया इज ए बिग कंट्री, वो हमारे साथ इंसाफ करेगा, हमें अच्छा रखेगा। बट इंडिया इज ए कंफ्यूज्ड नेशन, उन्हें पता ही नहीं है क्या करना है। मुझे कई बार तो ये लगता है इससे अच्छा हम लोग अकेले ही होते। वी डोगराज हु क्रिएटेड दिस स्टेट, वी वुड हैव डिफेंडेड दिस स्टेट आल्सो। अभी आप देखिए, वो एक रूल आया कि जो पाकिस्तानीज है उनको बाहर निकाला जाए। जेएंडके में आज एक पुलिस वाला पकड़ा गया जिसने ना जाने कितने साल नौकरी की, एंड ही इज ए पाकिस्तानी। कैन यू बिलीव दिस थिंग? आप सोच सकते हैं? ए पाकिस्तानी कम्स टू इंडिया एंड ही गेट रिक्रूटेड इन द पुलिस। तो वो पुलिस क्या ही टेररिज्म के साथ लड़ेगी हु हैज ए पाकिस्तानी इन देम? तो रादर देन क्वेश्चनिंग कि पाकिस्तान ये कर रहा है, वो कर रहा है, वी नीड टू फाइंड आउट। वो सब की एक बहुत अच्छी लाइन किसी ने कही, इजराइल इज सराउंडेड बाय एनिमीज फ्रॉम ऑल द साइड्स, इंडिया हैज एनिमी विद इन। तो वी आर हैविंग ए टफर फाइट देन व्हाट इजराइल इज फाइटिंग। इजराइल को कम से कम ये तो पता है इस लाइन के अंदर सब इजरायली हैं, हमें तो ये ही नहीं पता। मुझे तो ये भी नहीं पता जो ये हमारी कन्वर्सेशन सारे इंडियन सुन रहे हैं, वो कहाँ के, वो इंडियन है भी कि नहीं है, जब एक पुलिस वाला ही हमारा इंडियन नहीं है।
सर क्या
तो
लगता है
रादर
आपको
देन
कि
फिक्सिंग, रादर देन गोइंग ऑल आउट फॉर पाकिस्तान, लेट फिक्स आवर हाउस विद इन। अपने आप को ठीक करिए।
एब्सोल्युटली सर। सर मैं एक्चुअली मेरे फोर फादर्स जो थे वो सिंध से आए थे यहाँ पे। आई एम सिंधी। सो मेरे फोर फादर्स सिंध से आए थे एंड सिंध प्रोविंस इज स्टिल देयर। पाकिस्तान में अभी भी सिंध है। सो वहाँ बहुत ही टेरिबल कंडीशंस में सिंधी जो लोग हैं जो वहाँ रह रहे हैं, स्पेशली दोज हु आर अंडर पॉवर्टी लाइन, उन टेरिबल कंडीशंस में है। And sir, I know a person who rescue these Sindhi families from Pakistan to India. They provide them fund and they bring them back to their families, to their country. And he has been doing this for years. So sir, we know कि वहां पे जो सिंधी है, हिंदू है, वो किस कंडीशन में है, right? Still हमारे देश में there are people who talk about भाईचारा. So sir, what do you think that India should be declared as Hindu Rashtra or not? What are, so guys, what are your views on this, sir?
You asking me or sir? Vikas sir.
So anyone can answer this. This is common for all of
See, firstly,
because we
I would
both
like to
are.
I would like to give my 2 cents on what Vikas sir said. I totally, rather to a larger extent, I agree with him. But rather than I would say we are not a confused country, sir. With all due respect, I feel that we are very compassionate and we are very considerate country. Somebody
Hmm.
coming from Pakistan, settling over here legally, giving them permission for settling over here. They are earning their livelihood over here, and they are then eventually making them part of the country wherein they are even voting. इस साल वोट भी किया है उन लोगों ने. So even I have
Yes.
seen that, but I don't feel that it is a failure on our part. It is I would consider it that as one of the considerations which we have. We are one of the peoples who are very compassionate. It is basically inherent to entire Indian society that way. When it comes to Israel, definitely it is surrounded by the enemies, and it's a completely different scenario altogether. People of one particular creed or caste or religion stay in Israel, which are
Hmm.
majority in nature. Like Israelites are basically Jews. Here in India, we have n number of religions, n number of people, n number of castes, n number of thought processes, n number of people from various ethnicities who are staying together, and it is not really very easy to get everybody on the same page. It's never been an easy. It has been, and I'm not talking about the current government. I'm speaking about the governments prior to that as well. So, in order to
Hmm.
get everybody onto the same page, there are certain steps which are being taken. Like, for example, if we see the in 2020 August 2020, when the abrogation of 370 was done, at that point of time a lot of people from the Kashmir itself were opposing it. But today, after like 4 or 5 years, and for next 2 years, there has been a lot of strengthening and tightening of the security in all the areas. And Pahalgam was one of the districts jahan pe there were people who were not really ready for 370 at all. But in today's date, like sir said, now since last 2 years, the tourism has gone to such an extent that these people are stuck now. Because earlier, these people are not getting the basic facilities to facilitate their business. Now, since the business is growing, now they have come to a state wherein they are doing candle march, they are marching against the um, uh, whatever the anti-national elements who are prevalent in the state and all. They are doing candle march against them and everything. Now this is the scenario which I have seen for the first time. When I was serving at that point of time, patthar fekna was a very norm. Okay, at that point of time. But now things have started changing, and we are, I believe, through consideration, through diplomatic measures, we were successful in getting things on page. Like, we are not giving any special treatment to J&K in today's date like we used to give for a prolonged period. So they are, it's a union territory which is, again, dealt like any other state in the country in today's date. So my point is, if we think from that perspective, yes, a lot of transitions have taken place, a lot of things have changed. But in order to get things on track, you cannot really change what has happened, what has been happening for last 70 years. You cannot really change it in within 5 years. It takes some time. Yes, the
Absolutely.
change has to be quick. The change has to be quite faster. But yes, it takes some time. And when it comes to, I feel, I honestly, it's my personal opinion that we are a secular country, we are a secular nation, and it's not only the Muslims and the Hindus we are staying in this country. We have got Jains, we have got Christians, we have got other religion people also, we have got Buddhists also. So there are n number of people, even if they're अगर percentage की बात की जाए तो बहुत कम होंगे. But when it comes to actual people who are there on ground, actual number of people who are there, there are quite much in number. I don't feel that there is any necessity of us. Yes, Hinduism is a way of life. Yes, we all as Indians follow that way of life. Whether he is from any religion, we do that. But at the same time, saying that it's a Hindu Rashtra or Hindu country, I honestly, being a Fauji, and I honestly being somebody who's from a completely neutral backdrop, I wouldn't say that we should be called that way.
Hmm.
We have got so many Sikhs living in our country. We have got so many other religions also. So I don't feel so that's a necessity. Yes, Hinduism, I would say, being a practicing Hindu, I would say that Hinduism is a way of life. It's not, I cannot really call it a complete religion as such. It's a way of life. And yes, everybody follows the similar way of life in this particular subcontinent who are staying over here. So I don't feel that there is any necessity of us proclaiming ourselves to be Hindu Rashtra. But yes, we are living as Hindus in this country. It's our way of life, and there should not be any discrimination in that. We are a secular force, we are a secular country, and we are very compassionate, very considerate country. But that should not be confused with us being confused, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely, sir.
I would like to, I would also like to make a point here. French existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre,
Hmm.
he is given this idea of bad faith. While mentioning bad faith, he talked about anti-Semite and Jew. What happened in Nazi Germany? The extermination of Jews happened. So, if we talk about the Indian situation, we do not compare to the American model of the melting pot society. We are a salad bowl, and every ingredient of that salad bowl makes for this beauty of our culture. And borrowing from, if we talk about the Jainist philosophy, जैनिज्म में एक बड़ा ही ब्यूटीफुल कॉन्सेप्ट है which talks about अनेकांतवाद. अनेकांतवाद means infiniteness of reality, multiple realities. उसमें एक एग्जाम्पल दिया जाता है एक हाथी का और 5 ब्लाइंड लोगों का. If 5 blind men they touch the elephant, they will not be able to experience the elephant in its entirety. अगर कोई उसकी सूंड को हाथ लगाएगा तो वो सोचेगा ये कोई ट्रंक है, उसकी पूंछ को लगाएगा तो बोले सोचेगा ये कोई रोप है, या उसके पेट को हाथ लगाए दीवार है. तो reality is always layered. There is no black and white in the society, there is always shades of gray. And when I partially agree and partially disagree to what Vikas sir said, that I mean, whatever is happening in Kashmir currently, the candlelight marches and taking the Vande Mataram is being sung in Lal Chowk, I would see that as a positive development. As Major Deshmukh also mentioned, previously there used to be a time of stone pelting. Now we see things are changing. A new perspective is being developed, and we should, there are bad sheep everywhere. Yesterday, I mean, I saw a video, a Muslim shawl person selling shawls in Uttarakhand. He was slapped and he was beaten. I don't think that is a very sensible thing to do as a society. We are such a multi-ethnic and a multicultural society. We need to preserve the richness of our culture. What Britishers left that sour taste on our tongues, we don't need to carry it forward. And I see it is time that we rise above these sectarian divisions in the society. Because every person, I have friends in Kashmir, I come from Jammu and Kashmir myself, I have seen people who don't want all of that. And as about the local involvement, as you mentioned, definitely there is an OGW network. There may be sympathizers, but I guess now that percentage has kind of decreased to a great extent. I wouldn't say that is not there. There may be people who may sympathize, because some local involvement, that should not be generalized. There may be people who may have helped. But at the same time, we also need to understand that Pakistan, we are fighting a 2.5 front war, as it said, Pakistan, China, and Naxalism. But there is another 2 front war being fought by Pakistan. The one is through infiltration and its ceasefire violations. But the other side, we also have this psych war, psychological warfare. The hybrid warfare, that is the norm. No longer the war will be fought on the battleground. Paul Hoffman, a great strategist, he mentioned that now the war will be fought in cyberspace. Now the enemy doesn't need to cross the border and infiltrate your armored divisions or your infantry divisions, or maybe do all those things. What happened in Uri or Pulwama, or what happened in Pahalgam? The attack in Pahalgam was followed by what do we call intrusion of our minds, the colonial conquest of human mind. That's the hypnosis we are being under. That sir mentioned that we are following the narrative set by Pakistan. That is actually the right thing. We should not. They are trying to discredit our social fabric. They are creating and they are sending. There is an entire coterie of people who are working on this. They are creating a narrative. They are making certain videos or messages, incendiary messages are being sent. For example, if you are a Muslim, you will see a video of Muslim being beaten or something like that, to create that feeling of hurt. If you are a Hindu, you will see a video of something like, if you are a Sikh, you will see a Sikh being targeted. So if you will feel enraged. But being, members of a civilized society, I think we should not miss the wood for the trees. We should not blame the entire community, there are bad sheep everywhere. I am very categorical about it, because we are at an inflection point in the history of human race, and India has the youngest population. We have a huge demographic dividend, and I may go so far to say that it is not just Pakistan that is involved in creating this unrest. There are agencies, we consider America as our friend. No, the CIA, the MSS, and the other intelligence agencies, they are involved in creating this communal and this rift in India. देखिए जब पहलगाम हुआ, उसके बाद पूरा इंडिया इसी चीज में लग गया. We have strayed from what we were supposed to do. अपना काम धाम छोड़ के सभी नैरेटिव की वॉर में घुस गए कि ये हिंदू है, ये मुस्लिम है, ये ऐसे हो रहा है, ये वैसे हो रहा है. आई थिंक पाकिस्तान की तो जीत हो गई ना. आप ये देखिए, I think Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain has also mentioned, and I categorically also believe it. आपने जब पहलगाम अटैक ऑर्केस्ट्रेट किया, you categorically picked out Hindu tourists. This was a part of the plan. They were not very generous by leaving the Hindu women. They wanted to get this message across to the general public that we have only targeted Hindus. If they had killed everyone, who will be left to tell the story? So that the story, jao Modi ko bata do. They wanted to hit us hard. They wanted to hit our psyche. I think that is what we need to understand. We don't need to fall. We shouldn't fall for the trap of the Pakistanis. I mean, the ISI is known for this, creating this rift. And I believe we should, in this moment of trial, this is the greatest moment of trial in the 21st century, because this century, I believe, belongs to India. And we should not let the enemy across the border, not just in Pakistan, but elsewhere, to disrupt that fabric that we have. We are on the way up. Our economy is booming. We have a great intelligentsia. Our soft power is, making a claim for itself in the world. So Pakistan, who is itself in its doldrums, it's a dilapidated state, a failed state. It wants us to engage with it. Until recently, we were not engaging with Pakistan at all. Be it diplomacy, be it war, nothing. But it wants us to interact with it. वो कहते हैं ना, सुअर के साथ अगर आप नाली में घुसोगे तो we only get dirty. We only get dirty. It's better we teach Pakistan a lesson that is very important. But at the same time, we need to know where we need to be united in this war of narrative also. We shouldn't let Pakistan to create this psychosis of chaos, this unrest, this restlessness. Everyone, the students, the professionals, everyone into this. Let's do our work. Let's learn from the Japanese. 1945 में Hiroshima Nagasaki हुआ, they did overtime for 20 years without any extra salary, and we are kind of wasting our time. So I think we really need to put this thing forward, or we should support our forces as well as the government in taking the right decision, and because they are equipped and they are capable enough to handle this exigency. But we should do our responsibility in not believing whatever is fed to us on WhatsApp forwards. Let's not be an graduate of WhatsApp University, rather than make educative choices as mature citizens of this country. Yeah.
Finally, ma'am, you are here. A little bit late, but that's okay. I'm really delighted to see you here again. So I would
Good
like
evening, ma'am.
to, I will take,
Jan Vedaniti.
Jai Hind, Jai Hind to everyone, Vikas ji, Aditya, Navjot, Rekha. I'm so sorry for the technical glitch at my end. That's
no
the
problem.
perk of being in a little remote area in the country. But yeah,
No, no
yeah.
problem, ma'am. I would like to give your introduction for a minute. So, Major
Thank
Nidhi
you.
CJ is an Indian Army veteran with 10 years of experience in intelligence and information security. She was commissioned in 2010 from OTA in the Intelligence Corps of the Indian Army. Staying true to the academy learning of serve with honor, she has ensured relentless efforts beyond the call of duty, for which she was commended by General Officer Commanding Northern Command Commendation Card on 15th August 2015. She also holds experience as a risk consultant in the corporate sector. After a short stint as a yoga and well-being mentor, she has shifted her gears to her truest love of reading people. As a nonverbal communication and leadership mentor, she aims to train gritty and purpose-driven leaders for a better India and a larger global growth to humanity. I appreciate your presence, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Ma'am,
so much. And I thank other guests that they have been so patient because my entry has kind of, the momentum should not get disturbed. That's what I felt. Yeah.
Man,
it's okay, ma'am.
showstopper always enters late.
Not this way. Not this way. Yeah.
So, ma'am, what are your thoughts on what do you think that we were discussing that India should be declared as a Hindu Rashtra, but we have discussed it a lot. Now, my question to you, ma'am, is what should be the strategy of India? Should we go for a cold war, cold diplomatic war, or there should be a war? What do you think? Because a lot of, ma'am, you there?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
yes,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll go with the preset to the whole concept of nationalism and the and what is going on. And then probably I'll add that should we go for a war, or are we ready for it. Let's understand what is the where are we presently in the terms of nation concept. you know uh, Hindu Rashtra, firstly, I'm very, very averse with this term called Hinduism, and all these isms, no, have been put on us by the Westerners, and we are just
Absolutely.
carrying this concept with us. There's
Hmm.
nothing called as Hindu ism. There is a Hindu, if you say, is actually not a religion. Also, if you really want to give a religious perspective, it is probably Sanatan Dharma. Okay, we don't believe in something called as Hindu. uh, and the moment, I think so, the moment we say Hind or Hindu, it means India. So I don't get it why we have to add a terminology of Hindu Rashtra when it
Right.
can be simply that Bharat or India. We have already established ourselves in our identities. So I think so. This is the first thing we should just rubbish. Stop focusing on this. There is no Hindutva happening. There is no Islamophobia happening. All these jargons have been fed to us by the Westerners, and we are somehow sadly carrying on even after being a very strong and secular nation. This is something we should not fall prey to. Firstly, in terms of now, how does it translate into terrorism? Uh, Unfortunately or fortunately, whether you pick up any form of asymmetric warfare, whether it is insurgency, whether it is terrorism, whether it is Naxalism, there is an ideology behind. This ideology can be based on the basis of communal differences, on the basis of economical differences, or it can be on the basis of religious beliefs. These are mostly the criteria. यही तीन में बढ़ता है. If you see all over the world, wherever an inequality happens, either in the social status or in the communal or in a community status or in the financial status, that has been the background to the origin of all these things. And somebody who has was born in Chhattisgarh, I think so, because of that, and having served in Northeast and JNK, I have got
Hmm.
a feel of all the three to understand the difference between all the three. But the real core thing, as citizens, we should understand, wherever there is inequality, it will be exploited for this by our adversaries. Our adversaries will make efforts to exploit all inequalities. You never know. Tomorrow it can be gender. Today it is Hindu Muslim. Tomorrow it can be gender. Okay. Already Jains are feeling a little threat because of the recent, the temple which has been demolished. So you really don't know where, to what extent they can. See, they are also, our adversaries are also constantly testing our vulnerable areas. And we have proven our vulnerability in many ways, let's be honest. Okay. Whether it is Manipur scenario, or whether it is the whole during CA, we were there in Tezpur. I was there in Tezpur when the whole CA thing happened.
Yeah.
uh,
Hmm.
that time also, the whole NRC thing. These are the times when somewhere they have seen that it acts as a good trigger to these people. And thanks to the recent Bangladesh crisis, we have shown again there. So, see, somewhere we have to be dispassionate in this and understand that there have been signs. We have given telltale signs of our vulnerability, which they have tried to exploit. But the question is, should we continue with this, or should we reform ourselves and focus on ourselves on national security and the sovereignty of the country, which is more important.
Hmm.
Okay, so for that, firstly, youth has to understand these concepts. You know, all theoretical knowledge, all bookish knowledge will go to dumps tomorrow when the war is, if there is a war-like scenario. Now, coming to your question of whether there should be a war or there should not be a war, in my opinion, I think so any soldier would say this. No, no soldier wants war, to be very honest. Not because we are not capable. We are definitely capable. When the Afghans came, it was just 21 Sikh who just this is no parameter. Capability is definitely not a parameter. Parameter is at a global parlance where today India stands as being one of the potential superpowers of tomorrow. Already we are there. Can we afford that? Economically, can we afford it? In the sense, are we ready to go back? Let's not forget, Vikasji is the most apt person because he has been interacting with the Martius family, and I have been doing little bit in that sense from the last 4 years. Not only that, when we were in the army, we lost boys. So when you lose a boy, when you lose a soldier, you have to, how do you justify it to the family? That's a lifelong blotch which you leave them with, lifelong void. We cannot get, so we are still to justify to the sacrifices of the people in 65, 71, 63, 65, 71, and Kargil. So do you really want to lose more people? From a empathetic point of view, from a point
Absolutely,
of
ma'am.
view,
These are the
where,
speculations. These are the speculations that.
yeah, from a humanitarian ground, do you really want to lose your men more? Okay, and there are, thanks to technology, I heard Navjot saying we have enough of alternative options to carry out a good stringent military action. You see, just by stopping the just by halting on the industry, they just don't know what to, they've gone bonkers. समझ में नहीं आ रहा उनको पानी नहीं आ रहा तो they are not able to properly think rationally. And the statement by the minister was so funny to hear. They are already shit scared that they are establishing that we are going on board. I mean, Navjot will understand from a propaganda perspective, this is the most foolish thing to do.
I was making fun in that regard only, ma'am. Yeah.
So, the war is happening on many levels. One is at a societal level where citizens have to understand what they really, what is nation concept, what is being a national, what is being a citizen of a country, what are my duties, as in half of them won't know the fundamental rights and fundamental duties. Let me be very honest. I can put it on record also. Half of them won't know because you need to understand. There's a book on this, though not a great fan, but Noam Chomsky has written a book called Manufacturing Consent, where he says
Very nice. Perfect. Very
that
good.
citizens have been bound into these things so that they don't think intellectually. And now is the time we all have to think intellectually if we want this country to grow.
Totally agree.
Every citizen should know their basic role. PIO कॉल आता है, मुझे क्या करना चाहिए? Me or Aditya or Vikas ji or Navjot ji should not be telling them. They should know. That should be a drill. This is not the first time these threats are coming. You go and meet people in the western sector on the border areas. It's an everyday affair. It's an everyday affair. But now it is coming to mainstream India because now the citizens of Pan India are involved in this. Pahalgam had a scenario where citizens Pan India were involved. Otherwise, JNK has been bleeding for the last 3 decades, three and
That's
a
what
half
the
decades.
answer said.
Yeah. So last 3.5 decades, where were our people? I would first ask our people. The same Pahalgam, I have such nostalgic memories because, you are supposed to wear a firan, you're supposed to go with a police protection or with a QRT. You should not have anyway, you should look from mainstream India. And then only you can go and visit these places. Such high security to today where people have gone and they can do zip lining and all. This is massive improvement in the last 3.5 decades. Today you see people blooming there. We are seeing in Lal Chowk Tiranga. That's a big thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a
Big,
big thing.
big, big.
That's a massive change of narrative happening. So we need to encash on this. And for that, we need Pan India to not alienize Jammu and Kashmir. For God's sake, stop alienizing that. It's part of India. They are Indians. Treat them as Indians. हम टूरिस्ट हैं हम कश्मीर गए stop doing all that thing. You are not a tourist in your own country, yaar, for God's sake. You can go anywhere in your country. This and we are not some US to have two different types of citizenship and all those things. So
Mhm.
somewhere the narrative has to be checked. Why I'm saying when Burhan was became a spotlight in 2015, our very interesting media flash the news, a new rebel poster boy in the valley. This is the news. Where is the responsibility of our media? You are alienizing the region further. आईसिस फ्लैग दिख गए कश्मीर में दो बंदे लेके फ्लैग खड़े हैं उसको आईसिस फ्लैग दिख गया कश्मीर में
Exactly. This is what we need to be.
this exaggeration, this alienation of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh region has to stop, for God's sake. And the Northeast region, I'm telling you, because Northeast, nobody is now bothered. We all will talk when something will happen, and then nobody is not talking about Manipur. This is not how it works. It's very much part of your country. Feel responsible for it. So only when and only when the citizens are ready to become that kind of conscious and have that kind of ownership can we think of other dimensions of warfare, psychological warfare. And trust me, like
Yes.
I have seen how Paki's social media work. उनका एक ट्वीट आता है कैसे कैसे ट्विटर में 100-200 अकाउंट खुलते हैं.
Ji.
I mean, for that particular tradecraft, I would give them credit. Two things they are very good at. One is lying, and second is technology. They are very good at this. It comes to them genetically, no? Technology तो genetically हमसे ही लेके गए हैं कौन से दूसरे जगह के हैं वो, right? So war. I am not in favor of a war. I would say military action, yes, absolutely, but an action which has enough proof, enough impact. It should be like an earthquake. अगर पाकिस्तान में हुआ तो सिर्फ पाकिस्तान नहीं, till Afghanistan and China should also start shivering कि भैया now let's not touch India.
Ji.
And Bangladesh should shut up first because this is one dimension we are not paying attention now after Pahalgam. And the most beautiful part, 1st May, the Chief Minister was to visit Murshidabad. And now Pahalgam has happened. Entire focus of the country has shifted there. Now Murshidabad incident dies its own death if not
Wow.
paid attention. And it is a very serious matter. The illegal migration in Northeast region is a very serious matter. If we overlook, it's gonna be disastrous.
So my last question to you is, to all of you is, I've recently saw an interview of General Bakshi, and he said that de-escalation is the reason behind it. The government shouldn't have done that. So do you really believe that de-escalation of military forces in Jammu and Kashmir might be the reason of it?
Major
Navjot
Aditya,
sir.
Okay.
Major Aditya, you take
Well,
this
I,
question.
I don't I don't
I'll
I don't
build on
think
that.
so. I don't think so that that is the reason, honestly, because see, somewhere down the line we have to de-escalate these things. We are kind of getting used to it.
Yes.
It's a kind of vaccine which we are testing onto ourselves, and eventually it has to work that way. We cannot be escalating security forces in the area and at the same time telling that no, you come to Kashmir and it's a very good place to visit and this and that. It cannot happen that way. The moment, because it has been happening since a long time. There has been RR, there has been paramilitary forces, there has been Indian Army who has been part of